a moment for the people. Yeah,
a sack of burgers.
A sack of burgers.
Nothing against Preston, Lancashire. You'd like to go to Utah?
Oh my gosh, it's on the top of my places to go.
Is it?
One of them, yeah.
What's in Utah?
Mormons.
Welcome to Gobs Goblets with your host Hannah and your host Maddie. So, I'll be honest, January hasn't been very dry, so so on today's episode, we went out last night. We are extremely hungover, and we thought, why not have a look at the history behind takeaways and deliveries and take you along with us for the ride.
We've decided to do this episode slightly differently because we were so hungry.
We were so hungry and we unfortunately had some technical issues, so this has been sitting in the cold for 15 minutes.
Freezing.
It's freezing.
Maybe that's why it's hard to get through.
It's so good. Anyway, without further ado, shall we?
I say we shall. So, we've now had our McDonald's, we've had our Mackies, and it was really bad, actually.
No, like, it was delicious, but it was just really cold.
Yeah. You tried a Big Mac for the first time.
Did.
Thoughts and opinions?
Don't like the bun in the middle, takes away from the two patties, but I like the sauce.
And that's all you can ask for in this life. But when you're hungover, having cold fries just... It shouldn't be frozen. It should be cooked. You know what I mean? Speaking of frozen fried food, Hannah actually used to work at a fast food restaurant, but I don't think it was quite McDonald's.
No, I did, but it was a healthy fast food restaurant.
Oh, wow.
I know, we did
They exist?
poke bowls. Yeah. And oh yeah, you never tried one.
I never tried one, no.
No. Anyway, yeah, no, this place was very illegal. Like, I will fill you all in. You would basically work by yourself in the restaurant. So, like, you would have downstairs where the kitchen was and then upstairs. So if you, like, ran out of, like, food or whatever, you'd have to, like, go downstairs and make more, right? So I remember one day there were, like, 10 customers outside. There was a queue outside the door. I was receiving delivery after delivery after delivery. And it used to make a sound. I can't remember it now. Like, because I had acute PTSD. Like, anytime I'd go into a restaurant and I hear the delivery da-da-da-da-dang or whatever, I'd be like, I can't be here. But this is the reason why. If we messed up an order, we wouldn't get paid for an hour.
That's illegal, no?
It was very illegal. They owed me 100 hours in overtime. I was getting, I was working by myself. So one day I have 10 people outside and I have 10 deliveries coming through. And then obviously that's a lot to handle when there's one person. And usually when you're about to do the delivery, the driver, they come in 2 minutes. And I once had a delivery, like a driver guy, scream at me because the order wasn't ready in 2 minutes. And I was serving a customer and I was like, you can't be screaming at me.
That's
in
awful.
front. Yeah, and
I
it's like,
cried.
yeah, and it's like I'm by myself. I have to go to the kitchen and then cook stuff and then come up. Anyway, so there's one day because, you know, some people like to phone up and probably some of you do it and you pretend that your order is wrong. Please don't do it. Hopefully not all these places are illegal. But this girl calls one day, and it was very hot this day, I remember, and we didn't have any fans. We had a fan, but I had to keep it in the kitchen downstairs because I was sweltering. And I had sliced all my fingers open, and we didn't have a, like, first aid kit, and it was just really bad. So I was wearing, like, all these little plasters that I had in my bag, gloves on top, like, I had to serve people, like, I looked like it was really bad. So this...
You got blood in the sushi?
No, of course not. I did everything to
said
make sure it was
poke bowl,
hygiene
not sushi.
and, you know. But this girl calls up one day and she's like, hi. And I'm like, hi. And she's like, I ordered a salmon poke bowl. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, but there was no salmon in my salmon poke bowl. And I had had enough, and I thought, if I'm not going to get paid because this girl is lying so she can get her poke bowl for free, I've had enough. So I said, I'm really sorry, but I did put the salmon in your salmon poke bowl. And she's like, but you didn't though. And I was like, but I did. And then anyway, So yeah, just please don't lie. But yeah, it was quite the experience.
It sounds like it. And you know what? We're going to follow straight through with way more scandal. So, the first place we're going to is the ancient, we're going to ancient Greece and ancient Rome. There's not a whole lot about it, but in those places, at that times, street vendors and street foods were like, it was a very common thing. You could go out, because a lot of people didn't have kitchens. It's like a very upper class thing to do if you had cooks and a kitchen. But if you're just like any Tom, Dick and Harry, you probably wouldn't have a kitchen. So people would go and they go to like the markets, and in my head I just imagine Borough Market but on steroids. No, Borough Market is on steroids, but do you know what I mean?
It is. Yeah.
Just like old Roman vibe.
Yeah.
Borough Market. Anyway, so people would go and they get food from there, but it was takeaway in the sense that you just weren't supposed to eat it by the stands. And you're supposed to go and buy it, and you were supposed to consume it elsewhere. I don't really know why.
What would they be like? Go away.
I don't know. I suppose
trying to eat it and buy.
Kind of blocked other people from getting it because it would have been so like popular.
And nowhere to stay either, right?
Oh, I don't really know.
Probably
Maybe
not.
On the floor.
Maybe.
I like sitting
Here's
on the
a
floor.
pebble.
Who's gonna sit on a pebble?
I don't know. It's ancient Rome and Greece.
Maybe like a stone.
They had roads. Sorry.
Yeah. They invented roads.
I know. Anyway, so sorry, they weren't staying there.
So they weren't staying there, so
Yeah.
they go, very interesting, separately. Basically, you know Pompeii.
I know. You know that old thing. Yeah, I know Pompeii.
Obviously, there's a lot that's preserved from Pompeii because of the volcanic eruption that happened. And archaeologists were digging and they were looking, and you know what they managed to find? They managed to find over 200, and now I actually don't know how to say this word, Thermopolis? Thermopolis. Oh, I think it's just like street vendors, little
Oh, that's what they were
outside,
called. Thermopolis.
Yeah,
No.
I thought of the Princess Diaries, you know, Mia Thermopolis.
No, I don't actually.
You've not seen the Princess Diaries, guys. That's an iconic piece of history right there. And you're missing out, mate. Anyway, we're going to move forward a bit. And we're going to go to my favourite times, the measly Middle Ages. And now this is where the scandal happens. This is where it gets a bit more like Hannah's work, okay? So basically, again, same as Rome, Greece, the lot, people didn't really have access to kitchens. Lots of people, working class and travellers, like when they were going through towns or if they were living there, they were often confined to like one single room. They might have to share it with people. Nobody wanted to waste space by having ovens.
Yeah.
Which weren't called ovens, they were called a hearth.
A hearth?
Or a heath.
Hearth or a heath, we'll let you know.
My brain doesn't work the same when I'm hungover. I'm sorry, guys. All the words are jumbling up in here. Anyway, point being is this is where the pop-off started.
What do you mean how did the pop-off start in the ruins and...
In the medieval period.
Oh, sorry, we've moved to the medieval period now.
Literally said.
Sorry.
We're
We're hungover, in case you didn't know.
I think they know.
Okay, sorry. Kara, so medieval ages, yeah?
Yeah, so basically this is where, like, fast food, how we see it today, kind of originated from, actually. Because people in the streets, there would be, like, cooks, and people go to, like, the little kitchen takeaway things, and a Sweeney Todd was kind of, like, almost quite accurate. Another piece of history, you should watch it. Anyway.
Was Sweeney Todd real?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it's Tim Burton's imagination, to be honest.
Sorry.
It's not funny at all. And this is where fast food kind of starts to look like how it does now in many senses. So basically, same as Greeks and Romans, not a lot of people had access to a hearth or a heath. Can't remember off the top of my head what it's called. Words jumbled. I'm hungover. But basically, because people were crammed, like there were lots of people in like little one rooms, houses with many rooms, but lots of people were stuck in there. They didn't have the space or the time, or, you know, lots of people were travellers and they'd just be going through places. They need somewhere where they can just effectively pick something up. So there were town cooks, and in the 13th century, which is so correct, go me. In the 13th century, there was like a whole row down by the Thames, which became like the cooking central place where everybody go and get their takeaway shopping. And you had Cook's Row in Bristol as well, which was crazier than any other place because they also not only have meats and pies and puff pastries, but I don't think they have puff pastries, but everything. And they also have fish, which is kind of cool. Anyway, but back to London. Well, back to it in general. Their version, obviously, I just had a Big Mac. You just had a double cheeseburger. They used to have pies. But here is where the scandal happens. We're gonna, you know, it's gonna start looking like your job. Your old job.
So not good.
It's not good. So, basically, what the cooks would often do to minimise waste is they would anything that's not sold, they would reheat and sell again. So you had to be so careful if you were eating the food, because the inside of your like meat pie could in fact be completely rotten and give you food poisoning. Another thing that they did was there was a bit of disease going here, there and everywhere, and there was a time where this was particularly bad in pigs. And they knew that the pigs were disease-ridden and they would still feed it to people. So cooks ended up getting a really bad reputation. There was a saying that, let me get this right, meat comes from God, cooks come from the devil. And doesn't it make sense? Sorry, that was a little inside joke. It felt a bit mean to keep you out. Anyway.
Gosh.
So,
is that a joke about
yeah, so cooks had a really bad rep and not many people liked or respected them because they were trying to basically kill off their customers, which seems really stupid if you ask me. You want people to keep coming back. But yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Also, street vendors bloody invented waffles, didn't they? Did you not know this?
No.
Ta-da!
But did the original waffles have the like the shape and everything, like them weird like square things?
From the pictures,
Yeah.
yeah. The waffles look, and because also pancakes were a big thing as well back then. So that was my little overview of fast food.
It's quite an overview.
Thank you. Hee hee, ha ha.
Okay, so later, obviously, fast food, it just exploded really and truly, didn't it? I mean, like, like that. So now we're going to skip forward a few years forward, quite a few years forward, to 1888. So there's two Donnies I want you to remember. There's, I was going to say John Ho. It's not John
Isn't that Herbert?
Joe Horn. It's not John Ho, it's Joe Horn and Frank Harder. So remember these two guys. So Joe Horn and Frank Harder opened their company, Horn and Harder. Very original, I know. And anyway, in 1888, they opened their first luncheonette. And a luncheonette was basically like a small restaurant where you would have your lunch and it typically included counter service. So now, fast forward a few years later, and I'm going to take you actually to a zoo in Berlin, believe it or not, 1895. Now, they had the first, basically, vending machine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it launched in this zoo in Berlin in 1895, and first day was like a massive success.
Was it food in the vending machine?
Food and drink.
Wow.
So it was coffees and sandwiches, basically.
In a zoo, that's so bizarre.
No, but makes so much sense because you got so many people coming quick.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Anyway, it was so successful that the following year in 1896, they opened a restaurant for these essentially vending machines, and it was called like Automastisch or something, because it's German, I'm very sorry, Automastisch restaurant. And yeah, it was basically a place where you would go and you would look at the menu and whatever you wanted. Imagine a vending machine, but like with hot food and stuff. I
feel
want a
like,
mac and cheese, dime in, you get it.
why did that ever stop?
I'll tell you in a bit actually why it stopped. I don't know why, I was wondering. I know why it stopped. So so then, yeah, 1896, year later, it's just a huge success. Like, people are loving it. So in 1897, it actually won an award. It won the gold medal at Brussels World Fair. So obviously, with that exposure, it suddenly, after that, it went global. So by 1899, Paris had them, and these things were called automats. And automat in German is essentially any machine where you slot a coin in. So we're going to go back to our two Donnies, Joe and Frank. So they hopped on this craze, and in 1902 they launched the first automat in Philadelphia. 10 years later, I don't know why it took 10 years, that is my question, but 10 years later they then released something called the Automat Lunchroom. Now, the Automat Lunchroom was basically the same thing. It was a restaurant where you had all the automats in. So then the New York Times had published a whole article about it, basically being like, this is the new way to have lunch. Like, yeah. And it was very clever because they opened it in New York City. And it was because of the location where they opened it, why it was so successful. So obviously, you know, people were working in the city. Lunch, they wanted something quick, especially if people wanted something affordable, because the culinary scene at the time in America, it was a lot of like elitist culinary settings and dining rooms. And yeah, so it meant for the people who couldn't afford those things, they could afford it. And it was just quick and easy. People were busy. It was brilliant. So it basically exploded. Now, the reason they don't have it anymore is because in 1950, everyone moved out of the city. So everyone started moving into the suburbs. And then obviously there's no demand because no one's going to be buying it. And then, you know, things like inflation started playing in, things were getting more expensive, and then they just couldn't keep it up. So they finally closed their doors in 1991. But you could credit that as like, you know, like the vending machine being the first kind of fast food.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It was so cheap. It was like a shilling to begin with. Then it changed to like 5 to 10 cents,
Literally.
which is I think around £2 a day. So it was essentially like getting a wrap of the day from McDonald's.
Yeah, basically.
At that
Except wrap of the day is like £4 now, but anyway, yeah.
wrap of the day is still £2.
Not just now when I looked on the app.
There you have it.
There you go.
Another reason they were really popular was because at the time, obviously, the city is sort of being built. And we all know what New York City looks like now. It's a madness, but it didn't look like that back in the day. So lots of people were employed to work for long hours, and they got paid really little. And basically, the bosses like kept on shortening their lunch breaks, and so they didn't really have the time to like go out and find stuff and create some meal to eat at the top of a skyscraper. Anyway, point being is that these vending machines were super, super accessible and super affordable. So it was really a moment for the people. Yeah. So now, because me and Hannah both have burgers for lunch, and my top says burger, I'm actually going to tell you a little bit about the most popular fast food, which is a burger. So it was really shocking to me. It's quite a new thing. There was Donny called J. Walter Anderson, and he was working at a diner in America. Can't remember where. I'm still hungover. Anyway, he was making meatballs, and we don't know what came over him, but in this moment, all of a sudden, he gets a spatula and he whacks the meatball down, and then he's like got this thin meat, and then he cooks it, and then he gets 2 burger buns, And that was a burger. And then he was like, this is such a great idea. Like, I need to start selling this. This is going to do so well. So he makes a stand. He gets a stand. He starts selling burgers for 5 cents. And then when people come and buy them, he'd be like, no, but I can actually sell you like a whole sack. Buy more. And people, after they have the first bite, they're like,
A sack of burgers.
a sack of burgers. I don't know how many burgers were in the... I don't know how many burgers were in the sack or in the pack, but it was packing in the sack. I need to stop rhyming. Anyway, I don't know how many there were, but there were quite a few, I think. And that's how he like started getting, you know, out there. And people just, they bit it and they loved it, which is crazy. Anyway, so that's how the burger originated. Thanks, Jay.
I'm now going to impress you all. I love how out of all the episodes, this has been the episode where I've had to memorize 20 dates in this hungover state. So we're going to give a whack at it. So in 1940, McDonald's opens its drive-in. Now, basically, in the 40s and the 50s, there was a massive influx in people driving. God, they loved their... What, you like my driving?
I loved it.
Thanks. So, yeah, everyone had a car. They all loved it. They were driving everywhere. So, the first, like, drive-in movie theatre actually opened in 1933, and the first drive-in restaurant opened in Dallas, Texas, and I can't remember the name of it. I think it was, like, Kirby Chicken or something. But anyway, it opened in Dallas, Texas in 1921. But the boom of the cars kind of started happening in the 40s and the 50s. So drive-ins were becoming like a really big thing, essentially. So in 1940, McDonald's opens its first drive-in stand, and they originally were serving barbecue to like motorcyclists.
Excuse me?
Yeah, like barbecue stuff. So I don't know what that actually includes, but I imagine like ribs and stuff like that. But they were not selling burgers.
Oh, what a wild. Okay.
They later introduced burgers to the menu in 1948, so 8 years later. And I wonder if this is why In-N-Out Burger opened in 1948, and that's an American franchise, do burgers. And I wonder if McDonald's saw and were like, we need to hop on it.
I think so. I've always wanted to try In-N-Out.
Me too, apparently it's really good.
I want to get the thing that Nara Smith gets. Have you seen it? It's like a...
What does she get?
She gets... It's like some sort of skinny burger.
Of course she does.
It's like in like lettuce, but there's like that sounds like really nice to me, like having a burger in lettuce because it's so like fresh.
And because you're
crunchy.
gluten intolerant.
Yeah, I know. I've like killed myself here. Maybe that's why I'm feeling a bit unwell.
So anyway, and In-N-Out were also actually credited as the first people to make the kind of the modern drive-through with the 2 speakers in 1948.
That's old.
That's like impressive. Like I was really, really shocked.
What do you mean 2 speakers?
Like where you speak into a speaker and you go, I want this.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Like the speaker system.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so then after that, it just so many places started to open. So in 1952, KFC opens in Salt Lake City, Utah.
I'd love to go there, and I love KFC.
You'd like to go to Utah?
Oh my gosh, it's on the top of my places to go.
Is it?
One of them, yeah.
What's in Utah?
Mormons.
Sorry.
I find Mormons really fascinating.
In 1954, you've completely thrown me off track. In 1954, Burger King then launches in Miami, Florida. Then in 1958, there were these 2 brothers, Dan and Frank Carney, and they were like, Mumsy, can we have $600, please? And do you know what they did with that $600?
And what?
They went and opened Pizza Hut.
Shut the front door.
I know, I'd be a proud mum. Anyway, so... yeah, 1969, Wendy's. Wendy's also a brand that only came here a few years ago.
Not
in
very
UK.
long.
Awful. Sorry, like if you
I've
like
never
Wendy's.
tried it.
Oh my god, I ordered
it
it
really
once.
bad?
I really didn't like it.
Wendy's, pattern it.
No, I know, it just, yeah. Anyways, that's opened in 1969. Now, by 1978, there were 60,000 fast food outlets in the US. It just, when it soared, like, it took off. And that's because of, you know, all these, everything just kind of factored in. Like, oh
Can I
yes,
give you a fact quickly? Sorry.
yes,
So I don't
Maddie,
forget it.
yeah.
For 10 years, can't remember when it was exactly, every 16 hours in the USA, a McDonald's opened. For 10 years, every 16 hours.
That's crazy. It is mad.
And also, 83% of American households have fast food once a week. At least.
83%.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
There you go, and it stayed. And in 1965, it was actually KFC were kind of one of the first fast food outlets to be like, okay, like this needs to grow, like let's take this international. So in 1965, they actually chose the UK as like the place in Europe to kind of venture into first. So yeah, KFC opened its doors in Preston, Lancashire in 1965. I don't know why nothing against Preston, Lancashire, but I'm just saying, I wonder why there.
I don't know, to be honest. I love a bit of KFC. We all know. That's normally my hangover food.
Maddie loves KFC.
But
But yeah, and then they also opened one in Mexico and Jamaica, KFC. And then McDonald's took 9 years after. So in 1974, McDonald's finally opened its first McDonald's in the UK. Now, I've been dying to tell Maddie this, okay?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I said it to her last night. I was like, I can't wait to tell you when the first McDonald's opened. So basically, me and Maddie worked a long time in Woolwich. And during our lunch break, a lot of the time, we would go to the Mackey's there. And that's the first ever Mackey's in the UK, Power Street in Woolwich.
just give me a second because I'm trying to work out Woolwich.
High Street.
I'm thinking of... Is it Woolwich, not Deptford?
Woolwich, not Deptford. Yes, as in Woolwich, not Deptford.
I've got it.
Yeah.
I don't think I haven't been into that McDonald's.
To pee like 20 times.
No, I went into the cafe. I've never been in that McDonald's.
Oh, fair enough. Well, I
Right,
went
so that
there
was a
for
bit of a
lunch.
letdown.
Anyway, and then a year afterwards, in 1975, Burger King opens its first location in the UK, and they launch it somewhere that I think is like makes more sense, Coventry Street, so central London, but also doesn't make sense because like what if it's a big risk, the rent's gonna be high, do you know what I mean, but like more people gonna come anyway. So yeah, now obviously this stuff just kept getting bigger and bigger because in 1989 the World Wide Web is invented.
Dun, dun, dun.
Exactly, and that changed the trajectory forever. And can you believe it? In 1994, I loved this. Pizza Hut were technically like the first ever like online system for deliveries.
Yeah, I can believe that.
Why?
I don't know, they just seem like the kind of place it would be. Do you know what I mean?
I didn't take them for that really, but I loved the initiative. Anyway, they launched PizzaNet, and is it that funny? No, hear me out. So they launched PizzaNet only to the residents of Santa Cruz. So it was like a black and white web page, and yeah, you could order your pizza, but only to residents there. And then after that, it just went on and on.
Where's
We've
Santa
spoken. Great question, no idea. I've spoken about this with most people that I know. I had no idea that Deliveroo is a kangaroo.
Oh my gosh, yeah, we had this conversation.
Oh my
I didn't know this
gosh.
either. On a bike.
Because right now they've changed the evolution, but our cameraman is shaking his head. It looks like a peace sign now with an eye on the hand. I always think like, in Deliveroo, the sign's like peace.
Deliveroo kangaroo! It's Australian! Is it Australian?
What, because kangaroos live in Australia?
Oh, I didn't have any other reason.
No, Deliveroo's a guy from London who made it. He quit his corporate job to set up Deliveroo.
Okay, well, we got way too excited about it being
Anyway, but
Australian.
like it used to look more like a kangaroo, and obviously Deliveroo, and you jump from place to... Anyway, just in case you didn't know, I'm never forget. Who was it who told me that?
I don't know, I was there as well. Was it you?
Was it you?
No, it still looks like a kangaroo.
'Cause
I
is
think
a
it looks like a peace sign personally, but
Pea.
no, peace.
Oh, peace. No, it's a kangaroo on a bike, no? It's a kangaroo on a bike.
Anyway, that's my history lesson done. 20 days.
I have another fun fact. Basically, did you know that more people recognise the McDonald's sign than they do the Christian cross? Shocked me.
No.
I'm pretty sure.
Surely not.
I think so. What was
Are there
nationalism?
more McDonald's eaters than Christians? Probably. Absolutely. This is getting into dangerous territory now. Anyway.
I'm both. And then also the reason that it is yellow is because it's the most visible colour in daylight. And I don't know about nighttime as well, but I feel like it would be quite visible in nighttime because they light it up.
Oh, I didn't even mention the first ever like fast food place that like did open. Sorry, in 1921 in Wichita, Kansas, and it was called White Castle. And White Castle's still huge in America, but that was technically the first one.
Yeah, because they were really good at paying their workers. Did you know that?
Is that sarcasm?
No, that's like serious.
They're really like they pay them really well.
I'm pretty sure it was White Castle that paid their workers incredibly well, and they
Good.
gave them.
Good, because it's hard out there. As someone who's been through
Everybody
it.
wanted to work there, and it was one of the only places that would let Black Americans actually work there and eat there. I'm pretty sure as well. After.
Good to know. If you're gonna work anywhere, work there. Then I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was something else I was gonna say. You know.
It's all got a bit random towards the end. We just got fun facts and misinformation for you.
Oh yeah, like you know, there were all like there were all these like health issues. Well, no. Like people started questioning like how healthy actually is this? So like Maddie was talking about some of the marketing they did. The marketing was so clever and it was so slight. I mean, they still do this today. Like they basically would hire people to like wear white like lab coats as if they were like doctors and like walk into the place and like buy the food. So people were like associating like, oh, well, if a doctor's gonna eat this, then I can eat it. Like it's good for you, it's fine. So like God, like there's some dark advertising secrets back in the day. Let me tell you that right now.
And they'd pay people to do that as
Yeah,
well.
they paid people to do that.
I'd so take that. No, actually, that's super really like scammy.
It is really
wouldn't take
scammy.
that job.
Sometimes you got to do what you got. Well, actually, no, absolutely not. No, I don't condone this.
Don't condone lying. Don't condone lying.
No, we don't. Thank you so much for tuning in. Is there any randomness else you'd like to?
I think I'm gonna crash out and burn now and chunder and throw up and literally drop dead because the hangover is hitting hard.
It is. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
And goodbye.
Bye bye.
There should be a thing where you can do like plus 500 pickles. I would just order a whole thing of McDonald's pickles instead of the actual burger.